Perhaps one of the most iconic champions for this very channel, one of the champions and one of the videos that started it all. But can that absolute surprise hit champion of 2019 make it into 2025? Time to find out. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper. This is another video on Raid Shadow Legends and another in our series of I Built Them So You Don't Have to 2025 edition. For this rework, we are going to talk about none other than Fenax. He was one of the greatest arena epics in the game with an explosive A1 that had no seemingly answer. However, in 2019, we didn't have Stone Skin. We didn't have Ignore Stone Skin. We didn't have we didn't have Duchess back in the very original day. So with all these different mechanics and new ways to hide your champions from this absolute killer, can we still come up with a way for him to be an absolute danger in the arena? And how far can you take this champion before you have to give way to some of the more OP meta type nukers in this game? Well, that's what we're going to try to answer today with Fenax. So Feebleness attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Stern Partner attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Places a block active skills debuff for 1 turn if the skill does not place a block buffs debuff. Decreases bomb debuff detonation countdowns by 1 turn when Talia is on the same team. Attacks one enemy. Places an extra hit if the target has any debuffs. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. One of my favorite champions in the game, I gotta be honest, Fenax is an absolute savage beast, or can be with the right team, in the right comp. But can he still do it in 2025? We're gonna find that out. I actually have no idea what the answer is. What I do know is I took Ethos's gear, put it on him. I took some of Cupidus's gear and put it on him. And now we have a champion who, at least on paper, should be able to do some fairly sizable damage in the arena, at least in Gold 5, where most people who'd be using someone like Fenax could possibly reside. And we have him at 43k HP, 7449 on the attack at 200 speed, 362 crit damage, crit capped, and we even have a little bit of that accuracy at 232 to just round it off. Keep in mind, we do also have some beautiful +4 stats. You can see the blessings giving him extra HP for that survivability, the extra attack, and that extra crit damage. Of course, the extra crit rate and crit damage at A3 and speed as well. So it does make the overall building this champion not as difficult now with the +4 system. So that bodes well for trying to use a champion like this, who has been probably power crept pretty significantly overall in this game. But with that ability, maybe not so much as to use him. Now I'm going to move myself here. We're going to take a look at his masteries. The masteries on this guy is pretty standard. I do have him with the chance of increasing the round of the skill, and the places a shield buff whenever he kills an enemy. I got to be honest, probably I feel like maybe you want to go to opportunist if you can, although that means you don't get the life drinker. Actually, let's reset this for free. I feel like, so for one thing is to be able to build him statistically perfect and not stealing gear from everyone, he's got a +4, so that +3 is given that extra 5% crit rate. Why don't we just give him the attack instead? And now we still want to give that extra crit damage. And we want to give that increased speed and that first hit. Now, where I'm going to stray is because this guy, there's so many different reasons and things going on in this game. Let's give him an extra chance to hit harder with any kind of target that has a stun, sleep, fear, true fear, those sort of things. And then we'll probably go with Dead Ally. The cooldown of random skill when in arena, he's probably only using his A1, or ultimately that's what you want, is for him to be using his A1. I don't think that cooldown is important, so we'll go with the Dead Allies. Then we can make sure to get that extra arena, and we can get down to Helm Smasher. To round things out, we're hoping he's got full health, because he's kind of a fragile dude. If he's got defense debuffs on him, that might be the way to go, or the shield for 1 turn, or the default skill each time it's used in battle is probably the best, because that default skill is what we're looking for. And then let's go with, I mean, 10 resistance isn't going to do anything on this guy, but I do want to get this reduced crit hit. Block debuff buffs when expires, just in case. That one seems fine. Resistance for each debuff. He doesn't do the stun, sleep, fear, etc. So let's do that. And give him a chance to counterattack if he gets hit with something sloppy and ugly. So that should give us a nice, well-rounded, slightly different stats. Obviously, we've just added a little bit more attack, and that crit cap has just been reduced a little bit, plus some situational extra damage. So there's the guy we have. We have him in a lethal set. We have him in crit damage and standard gear otherwise. I'm going to tell you, we're going to put him in a secondary build because I think it's probably the easier way if you're going to try to use this champion. And I do know that this isn't the gear that all of you are going to necessarily be using, but things scale, so you won't be fighting the type of players that ultimately I would be fighting if I was using him competitively. So just put it on a scale. Maybe your guy has only got 4,500 attack because you're in the early mid game and you're getting him at 220 crit damage. But the defenses of the champions you're facing are considerably lower. It's, can we get through Ultimate Death Knight? Can we get through Skeletor? Can we get through all these new champions, Deliana, all these champions that everyone gets now and can be an absolute menace in the game? Before we do that, though, we're going to go over a skill kit. I apologize. I just really want to get things going here. I really want to bring him out, see if he's taken for a run. See if the old 67 Chev still runs like she used to. Let's take a look at his kit here. His A3, this is okay. Attacks one enemy, has a chance of putting the decreased defense and decreased speed. This is really good if you don't need the extra hits and you're going through the Fire Knight dungeon, 1 through 25, whichever ones that he's affinity applicable. The decreased speed's nice. It's going to give good damage. It's going to be able to put down the decreased defense. It is only a 60% chance, and he doesn't get any multipliers to that or additives to that. So it literally is only a 60% chance. The 60% chance of a decreased speed, given that that's not a must-have, it's just a nice-to-have, is okay. The decreased defense is unfortunate that it's such a low one, but this guy's not meant for debuffs. He's meant for damage, ultimately. This one right here, I really like. It goes up to an 80% chance, or is it 70 to 75? Every game I play, it's different. Maybe this is a 70 to 75% chance. I do like the AoE block buffs and block active skills. That's a pretty strong ability. This has become more and more important. This, even in the arena, second turn, right? If you look at the team and you think, I don't have the power to one-shot a person right here, maybe the answer is don't try to one-shot. Just try to use them in that A2 form where you can lock out some buffs, you can lock out some active skills, maybe get yourself some opportunity to have a fighting chance. But his coup de grace, his meat and potatoes, is this attacking one enemy. It of itself is probably the second hardest hitting. We'll take a look at the multipliers in a minute. Actually, we'll take a look at multipliers right now, which of course I don't have up because I can't ever seem to learn to be prepared on making these videos. Maybe one day we will do it. But we go to the handy dandy hellhades.com. We look up the handy dandy Fenax, who, by the way, they give a 4 rating still to this day. Ice Golem 5. Yeah, Ice Golem. Affinity friendly in certain respects, and of course can block revive on those ads on the boss. That's always nice. Not necessarily hard mode. He's not quite as good in hard mode. Still okay, but pretty good in a lot of Doom Tower areas. But let's talk about his multipliers. That A3 has a 6.7 multiplier, which is beautiful. That's actually pretty hard hitting, especially for something that actually puts debuffs, including arguably one of the more important ones in the decreased defense, as well as the decreased speed. With a really good multiplier, 6.7 on a single target is pretty freaking good. His AoE is 3.5. 3.5 is okay. It's not amazing. So his AoE doesn't have an amazing damage, but it's more about in this case, it is more about the debuffs. And then that AoE, that A1 4.1 times your attack is an absolute god ability. Keep in mind, that's a 4.1 times 2 if he gets an extra hit because there's debuffs on the enemy. So what that tells me is when it comes down to it, we're going to have to build a team that's going to be able to set him up for the most success. And with those multipliers and the situationals being pretty easy to attain, at least in theory, yeah, I think we can make this happen. So there's our Fenax. What I will tell you, well, we'll get to that in the arena piece, I guess. So we want to take him into damage testing first. So why don't we take him in damage testing? We'll bring in Alika just to give you a comparative. Sidebar, let me know in the comments down below. Is there an epic champion that you feel is a good test case to use with these champions? I don't bring in Whisper. She's one of my favorite epics, if not my favorite epic. The reason I don't bring her in is because she's got a real situational piece that makes her just uniquely different than everything else. She's more of a boss killer. So it's not against these sort of champions, nothing. I always bring in Alika. Let me know what other champions that are epics that you would bring in to be able to compare an AoE damage, a single target damage, and an A1 single target damage, just so we can have some, again, apples to apples reviews here. Okay, with that said, let's get into the damage testing up next. All right, here we are, floor 60 of the Magma Dragon. It's a nice, easy one to be able to kind of compare damages. We'll get to the boss. I'm going to fast forward it to the boss, and then we'll just compare the three of them and what the two of them and what their damages are on this boss fight, just to give a good idea for each of their abilities. So bear with me, and we'll get to the top. Actually, you know what? No, we won't fast forward through. We'll show you on the base ones as well. Okay, let's get that debuff. Now, we have two Ruans here. So each one of them should be able to knock off their A1. Now with him, it's AO3. Remember, this is the 6.7 that also can debuff. 285, 047. Her single target is 205. Now, he's got decidedly better gear. But finally, someone whose better gear is showing better gear. That's a big hit. That is a big hit for both of them, but especially Fenax. There's no doubt in my mind it's one of the strongest hits in the game among epics. So now let's go with the A1, and then we'll reset it to get that A2 here. This is also, of course, there's debuffs on here, which means the revive is in 174, 174, 6, 107. Now, again, he gets 2 hits, she gets 2 hits, but his is just showing exactly how dominating that is. 116. So you see that's kind of what's going on there. Actually, let's just do this. Let's undebuff, because he'll only get a single hit. Still hitting 98. Her 56. So again, he's got a lot more damage, and it's showing, right? He's got nearly a 70,000, 70. Holy, where am I? It's my world. He's got 70 extra crit damage. Plus, he's got about 1,000 more attack. So I know it's not being fair here. But at least you're seeing someone in the last video, and you'll see in the next video, which actually I've already got pieces recorded. Even though the champion has better gear, they're not performing better. And this is the first case where you're seeing pretty strong comparative damages. So let's just continue with this. We'll get to the boss. We'll just keep using their A1s so that their AoEs are available. I think it would be pretty hard to argue that the impact of that A1 alone, it's so phenomenal. So now here we go. Let's go with his A3 again. 138,671. We'll go with her A2. 288,539. Okay, well, we've got some burns. That's okay. Oh, both get some counterattacks. His A2, 78,307. Now extrapolate that among all enemies. This is where a leak, I believe, is probably going to shine. 48. No, it's the same thing, right? Oh, unfortunately, she died. And then you saw the A1, 45. So again, you're seeing top level epic damage. In fact, let's do this one more time. It's free resource. I just want to see. I want to see a legendary. I want to see a legendary comparative. So we're gonna look at AoEs here. 183 to whatever. Let's reset. I don't even know how I have to take. I think I have to take. Well, we're not looking for overall damage here. We're just trying to show kind of the range of damage. So we'll show his AoE 151, 140. So, I mean, he's kind of there. For comparison, Harima, who's a defensive-based champion, at 7,300 defense, 337 crit damage. As a legendary, I wish it wouldn't kick out like that. I wish I wouldn't kick it out like that. And you're seeing our Alika at 59,291. Obviously, some pretty stark differences in the three. Again, Fenax with the 75 at 362. So, could you argue? I mean, I could argue that comparable between the Harima. Obviously, Harima is just a better champion. Her A2, which of course one shot's doing 69, and then she's just going to show off. Her A1, which we'll use in a second here on one of the Abesses. A1's doing 124. His single target is doing 296. God, 296 that's a lot. And if we check her AoE on these, you're doing 104s. So, obviously not quite as crazy. Do we need... Oh, we can continue here. We can check A1s without buffs. Again, you've got 94. That's always just going to be one hit, but adds those decreased attacks. Hers can be one or two hits. In that case, she got her two. 76, 67. His 92. It did have a debuff, so he was able to block revive. So again, you're seeing, interestingly, he's hit his A1 is hitting harder than Harima. Both of them are. She's getting extra hit to do it, but his A1's hitting harder, and he can have a second hit if he needs it. So he's going to do 180k in comparison to Harima's 90. Just to give you a comparison, Fenax still has that top level damage. I think the point I'm trying to hammer home here is he still has the damage. Now, I'm floating in the middle because I forgot to change, but let's go back to here. We'll get out of here, and we're going to take him a couple different scenarios in the arena because that's really where you want to see. Can Fenax play in the arena? So let's find out next. All right, here's a fair team to take a look at. You've got a most likely stone skin. You've got strong defense, HP. There's going to be shields. There's going to be everything. So this is the team I normally use and just to free farm. But let's bring in... So the key is he needs some sort of he needs protection because he's kind of like Canderfon in that he's a little bit fragile, we'll say. So we can probably bring in a Duchess, assuming this is going to be a go second team of some sort. Or maybe even we'll keep Sify in there. That'll at least keep things away. Now I want a cleanse champion that I'm not worried if they get locked out. And then let's do this. Let's make it a little bit more free to play except for the Sify. God, a good strip champion would be like... I hate that I can't just click here and this thing hides. I have to click hide. Drives me bonkers. It'd probably drive me bonkers if it was the other way too, though. So let's not kid ourselves. It's her stats. Hers is an AoE cleanse, right? Yeah. 232. We'll see if this works. Okay. So this might be a scenario you have a smattering of the best champion in the game and a couple of rare champs. You do your best to protect yourselves. Okay, they're going to put in all the different buffs. Now, of course he's faster. We're gonna strip at some point. That's what she said. So we're gonna strip all the buffs. Now here we don't have any debuffs, so maybe we save a round, we get that in there. I think those numbers weren't bad. We'll sleep him. We'll get those debuffs up. As long as he doesn't kill him. Oh, see, this is what I mean by you really need to protect your guy here. We can't snooze her. Okay, so now this is the scenario we want. We've got a very high defense champion, someone that we would love to keep down and stay down. Can his A1 do the job? Yeah, 99. That again just needed one hit. And I mean, yeah, I'm using Sify just to keep him alive. But Sify isn't changing effectively the damage he's able to do. So just keep that in mind. This is absolutely, even without debuffs, he's going to get one hit. 17,000, that's a far cry from what it was there before. Let's sleep her. Oh, I wish he would stop putting those up. I should have slept Brogni, shouldn't I have? Come on! See what we can do here. That's where it's going to be tough, and it was a weak hit. Do love those counterattacks, though, I will tell you. I mean, 52,000. That's nothing to cry home about. I feel like I'm going to strip it, and then he's just going to reapply it. No, no. Oh, God. Okay. I mean, we could easily kill her. Can we not get a weak hit? Nah. No, 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 no. When there's the chance for the weak hit it's a coming down the mountain. We'll sleep him so he can't. So yeah, I'm learning. All right, now he's got everything. Oh, almost. That's tough on a weak affinity. Couldn't quite do it, but again, we were able to get rid of the ultimate death knight, which was pretty easy. Let's try another one here. So there's one more scenario I want to go through, and it's something like this, when you just feel like you can't go first. And so instead, you're going to put together a defensive-based team that's hopefully going to get you through this. We'll find out if it is. But the thing is, I know I'm going to get locked out likely here, at least on my champions. Probably not Galathir, but maybe the rest. Baron's going to hit really hard. We've got a lot of problems here. Monkey King might throw a monkey wrench into the situation, as he does. But this is just the best team I could show that maybe a go second team could be helpful with. Potentially a go second. I don't know how fast they are. But what we did with our Fenax to compensate is we changed his gear out. And this is kind of scenario 2 We have a lethal stone skin set. We did sacrifice some stats. We're still at actually higher attack, 77, 333 crit damage. Obviously, considerably slower because our goal is to survive until we get to hit as the cleanup hitter. So this is the sort of team that I use to counter really ridiculous, or I just put a stall team with. I have Georgia that I would put in this position, but we're gonna try Fenax in this position and see if that can happen. We're all in stone skin, so it's all about if the monkey gets his way, we're in trouble. So let's try to strip those buffs because those are just getting in the way. We don't want those. Hey, we got really good. So now they're locked out, and all they get to do is their A1s, which is just beautiful. Let's put some more debuffs on them. We love debuffs. You know we do. Normally, I would probably just kill everyone, but for the sake of trying this out with Fenax, let's go. We have an A1 now. We just killed the guy. You know, he's dead. And normally we would lock them out, but let's give him a chance to go. Let's just do that. See, we got one guy that's permanently dead, which of course we love. And again, probably would just kill them all. And now we're going to block revive there. He's gone for good. That's 100k. That means a double hit would have been 200k. Give or take the Helm Smasher proc. But now, what's she going to do? Like, we could literally play this all day. We're never in trouble, even though we're going second. So that's kind of the other area. I can see a guy like Fenax still being usable into the end game as you're starting to develop some stone skin strategies. But maybe you don't have the full team of the meta stone skin teams. You can try that. Now, obviously, I have a couple of the meta stone skin champions, but most of you will probably have Ultimate Death Knight, and that's just another way to help keep Fenax alive. You put UDK in there, and Fenax is protected. So why don't we now go to final thoughts, and I'll talk about the different scenarios I can see this guy still being used in today's fights, and we can talk about where I think he's just going to be. You're just going to probably need to find different options. My final thoughts on Fenax. Hey, this is a guy who's one of the originals of the game. He's one of the oldest champions in the game, and yet still has significant into endgame use, if not very, very situational in endgame use. This guy hits ridiculously hard, one of the hardest hitting epics in the game. He has an underrated A3, a pretty strong A2, to be honest, with those blocks, although admittedly not at 100% on the debuffs, but his A1 is what makes the difference, and arena is where you're probably going to use him. The scenarios I see, we showed where if you're going first and you can cycle through, he can literally just block revive everyone. This is going to be great if there's that one champion you just have a problem with that's got some higher HP. This guy's going to get a 2-hitter so long as they have a debuff on. How you get that debuff is up to you. There are 1,000 champions in this game, and there's probably 900 ways to get a debuff on them, including his own abilities, which can debuff it if you're having to do 2 cycles. You can control them and get a chance to hit that second. So control the team, let him do the work is scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is set him up for success, and he's the cleanup hitter. So you've got any other ways of damaging the rest of the team, but maybe you don't have quite enough damage on 1 or 2 of those really hard-hitting guys. This guy's going to come in and do the business, especially if, say, there's an ultra-heavy Siffy, then you can bring this guy in to kill their nuker, so at least Siffy can't just revive that nuker, and then you can whittle down the champion. Third way I love the most, if you have ally protect and can make it work in the arena, I think Cardiol is still a very, very, very high-end meta champion to use in the arena. We also all get eventually a free, quote-unquote, free Mikage, so you've got different options for that ally attack. Fenax is going to fit in wonderfully there. You put him last in your lineup, and everyone else is going to whittle down that hard hit, that hard champion, that hard to kill champion. Fenax is going to clean up with that block revive, but also most importantly with a ridiculously hard hitting A1 that goes twice as long as there's a debuff. So many different ways that Fenax can just bring your team to the next level. The final scenario is the I don't have Georgian scenario, I call it. There are a handful of champions that are strong stone skin cleanup hitters. If you don't have one of those, your next best option might be someone like Fenax. We saw it in this one. You can just keep cycling around and around, and he can slowly peg them off and make sure that, especially when you have dual revivers in these defensive comps, that you can say, revive me not, and bring in Fenax. Where he's not going to be good is when you know you're going up against strong Stone Skin, Swift Parry, or champions that actively have sort of fatal kill blockers, those sort of things. That's where it's going to be very difficult. Also keep in mind that that there are now a few different champions that can sort of undo the block revive or use it to their advantage. I don't know if Gamaran's still in that world since his rework, but obviously what's her name, I can't remember her name right now, the Kerrigan can absolutely block that. Lydia can block. She can still do stuff around block revive. So keep that in mind. But for the most part, this guy's going to have problems with just super heavy duty champions with lots of shields, lots of Stone Skin, where you've got to get multiple hits because he has pretty low defense, though higher defense than I think people realize. But at the end of the day, that 13,875 HP is nothing compared to your legendary options out there. And he doesn't have 100% ignore defense like a Georgia does that can just clean up before we get into the trouble rounds. So there is a ceiling to his ability, especially with the power creep in Raid Shadow Legends. But considering we're 6 years in, the fact that this guy can still be viable in most levels and tiers of the game until you get into the end game, I'm thoroughly impressed that he can still do that. I hope if you have him and you're in that early mid game, that you're effectively using this guy, because he's just going to be an arena boss for you. Do not sleep on him. Ice Golem, don't sleep on this guy. You can just turn him to his A1 and let it cycle until he uses his A1 on the ads, and then you've just made that so much easier and so much less of a worry. Things like that. This guy's an absolute beast. So that's all I have for you on Fenax. I talked your ears off on him. I love him so much. I think he's one of the best epics in the game still to this day. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is Fenax that good, or am I just a little bit rose-colored glasses on him? Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. But as always, I want to thank you for watching. Please be kind, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.